The sirens screamed through the night as Officer Sarah was rushed into the ICU, her uniform soaked in blood. Doctors shouted orders. Nurses scrambled, but her fading voice cut through the chaos. Please, don't let my dog think I left him. Everyone thought it was the delirium of a dying woman. Until an hour later, the hospital doors burst open and her K9 partner, Max, stormed inside. The moment his paws touched the floor of the ICU, something unimaginable happened. Monitors that had been flatlined began to beep. Her pulse strengthened. Her fingers twitched. And stunned doctors watched as a dying officer opened her eyes. All because the one soul she fought to live for had finally found her. The city was quiet that night. The kind of silence that always made Officer Sarah uneasy. She sat behind the wheel of her patrol car, her loyal K9 partner, Max, resting his head beside her. The radio crackled suddenly. All units, respond to a robbery in progress. Suspects armed. Sarah exchanged a glance with Max. Let's go. Partner. When they reached the alley, everything happened in seconds. A man burst from the back door of a store, clutching a gun and a bag of cash. Sarah shouted, "Police! Drop your weapon." But he fired instead. Max lunged forward, barking furiously. Sarah dove to shield him, and a bullet tore through her shoulder. The world spun, pain blinding her, but she refused to let go of her weapon. "Stay back, Max," she gasped, pressing her hand to the wound. The suspect fled into the darkness as backup sirens wailed in the distance, her vision blurred, her body trembling. Max whined and nudged her hand, refusing to leave. With her last breath before blacking out, Sarah whispered weakly, "Good boy. Stay." Red and blue lights painted the street as paramedics rushed to the scene. Officer Sarah lay motionless on the pavement, her uniform soaked in blood. "She's losing consciousness," one medic shouted. Max barked frantically, trying to reach her, his leash straining against the officer holding him back. "Easy, boy," someone yelled, but Max wouldn't stop. His eyes locked on Sarah, his instincts refusing to let her out of sight. Inside the ambulance, medics fought to stabilize her. "Pulse is weak. We're losing her." Sarah's head tilted as her lips moved faintly. Only one word came out. Max, even in pain, even fading. Her first thought was her partner. When the ambulance reached the hospital, chaos erupted. Nurses and doctors swarmed around the gurney, shouting vitals and prepping for emergency surgery. Outside the emergency doors, Max pawed the ground, whining and barking, his ears pinned back. The police captain tried to calm him, kneeling down beside the distressed dog. "She's in good hands, boy. I promise." But Max didn't understand promises. He only understood loyalty. Hours passed, but he never moved from that door. Rain began to fall again, yet Max stayed, waiting for the sound of her voice that never came. The hospital corridor was dim and silent when Sarah finally opened her eyes. The world felt distant. The rhythmic beeping of monitors, the faint scent of antiseptic, and the dull ache spreading through her chest. For a moment, she didn't remember what had happened. Then it hit her. The gunfire, the pain, Max's bark echoing in her ears. Panic flared. She tried to sit up, but a sharp sting in her shoulder forced her back down. A nurse hurried over. "Officer, please don't move. You're safe now." But Sarah shook her head weakly. "Where's Max?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "I need to see him." The nurse exchanged uneasy glances with a doctor nearby. "Ma'am, pets aren't allowed in the ICU," he said gently. "He's being cared for by your precinct." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes. "No," she whispered, gripping the bedsheet with her good hand. "He'll think I left him. Please, I need him here." Her voice cracked under the weight of desperation. The heart monitor spiked, her pulse rising rapidly. The doctor frowned. "She's going into stress," he muttered. The police captain stepped forward, his tone low but firm. "If seeing her partner keeps her alive, then bring the dog in." The nurse hesitated. "But sir, that's an order," he said. "Get Max." Outside, in the waiting hall, the German shepherd's ears perked. As if he already knew, his partner was calling for him. The ICU doors swung open, and every head turned. Nurses paused, doctors stared, and then came the sound of nails clicking against the tile floor. Max, the German shepherd, walked in beside an officer, his eyes locked on the hospital bed. The beeping machines, the sterile lights, the murmurs of disbelief, none of it mattered. The moment he saw Sarah, his tail lowered, and he whimpered softly. Pulling free from the leash, he rushed to her bedside, resting his head gently on her arm. For a heartbeat, the room held its breath. Then, something incredible happened. The monitors stabilized. Her heart rate, which had been dangerously erratic moments before, leveled out. The color began to return to her pale cheeks. The head nurse blinked in disbelief. Her vitals. They're improving. The doctor stepped closer, speechless, watching as Max licked her hand, nudging her gently. Sarah stirred, her eyelids fluttering. Then, in a fragile voice, she whispered, "Good boy. You came." A hush fell over the room. The nurses exchanged glances, some fighting back tears. Max didn't move. He lay beside the bed, his chest rising and falling in rhythm with hers. The head doctor finally spoke, his voice trembling. "I don't know what just happened, but whatever this is, keep that dog right where he is." For the first time since the shooting, the room didn't feel like an ICU. It felt like hope had walked in on four legs. Days turned into nights. And against every medical prediction, Sarah began to recover. The doctors called it unusual. The nurses whispered, miraculous. Each morning, Max was brought into her room, and every time he laid beside her, her vitals stabilized almost instantly. It was as if her body responded to his presence, his heartbeat syncing with hers, his calm steadying her fragile breath. Dr. Patel, the chief surgeon, studied the monitor in disbelief. "Her recovery rate has doubled since the dog's been here," he muttered. "I've never seen anything like it." The hospital staff started calling Max the healer. Even patients down the hall smiled when they saw him trotting proudly beside the nurses, his leash glinting in the light. One stormy night, as thunder shook the building, Max suddenly woke from his spot near the bed. His ears shot up, tail stiff. Then he began barking, loud, desperate barks that echoed through the ward. A nurse rushed in, startled. Within seconds, the oxygen tube attached to Sarah's nose slipped loose. Max's warning came just in time. The nurse reattached it, heart pounding. When the doctor arrived, he looked at Max, then at Sarah's peaceful face. "He just saved her again," he whispered. From that moment, no one questioned it anymore. Max wasn't just her partner. He was her lifeline, her guardian, and the reason she was still breathing. Weeks later, sunlight finally spilled through the hospital windows instead of sterile white light. Sarah stood slowly, her shoulder bandaged but healing, her hand resting gently on Max's head. The day she was discharged, nurses, doctors, and even officers gathered in the hallway, not just to honor a brave cop, but the unbreakable bond that had rewritten everything they believed about survival. As she took her first careful steps, Max walked proudly beside her, his leash held loosely in her hand. Cameras flashed. Reporters asked questions, but Sarah only smiled softly. "I didn't survive because of luck," she said, her voice trembling. "I survived because he refused to let me go." The crowd went silent. Even the head doctor, a man of pure science, couldn't hide the emotion in his eyes. "What we witnessed here wasn't medical," he said quietly. "It was something greater, the power of loyalty." Later, before leaving the hospital, Sarah knelt in front of Max, tears welled in her eyes as she pressed her forehead against his. "You saved me again, partner," she whispered. Max licked her cheek, tail wagging gently, his eyes full of love and understanding. As they stepped outside, the world felt new, brighter, softer, alive. Police officers saluted as she passed. The crowd clapped, some with tears in their eyes. And for a moment, it didn't feel like a farewell. It felt like a promise. That night, in her living room, Sarah watched Max sleeping peacefully beside her. The scars on her shoulders still hurt, but her heart was full. Because she knew one thing with absolute certainty: heroes don't always wear badges. Sometimes, they wear fur, carry faith in their eyes, and remind us what love can truly heal.